In this video, we're going to talk about how exercises are arranged in a workout. So there are some very simple guidelines that you can think of. First, work big to small. This is very simple. The biggest exercises go first, the ones that involve the most muscle. Again, there are exceptions to this, of course, but we're going to cover that later. This is the basic idea on how to design a workout. So for most purposes, you're not going to put something like a dumbbell fly before something like a basic bench press. We want to be able to dedicate the most muscle to the heaviest exercises and the biggest exercises. Also, as you go through a workout, after the first few exercises, you're slowly getting weaker. And this is an important consideration, especially when training for strength. So your first, say, 2 or 3 exercises are the ones that are going to be the most productive. So when looking at a workout for the lower body, we're not going to put a single leg extension before a back squat. Yes, there's exceptions with warm-ups and stuff like that, but for most purposes, our back squat is going to be our primary exercise, or maybe a front squat, but something big. And then as we go through the exercise, we work down to single leg exercises and we work smaller and smaller to isolation exercises. Now you could have something like, let's say you're doing a clean in that workout. So explosive exercises need to go before the slower exercises. Need's a strong word. Maybe I shouldn't use the word need. Again, there's guidelines and there's exceptions. But plyometric exercises, generally you want towards the beginning of a workout. This is because, once again, you want all the coordination and the muscle that you can give to these exercises that require it. They need speed output and force. So an exception might be if someone is very stiff and you still want them to perform a clean, they might squat first because that might help loosen up their legs to perform a clean properly. Of course, an Olympic lifter is going to want to do a clean before a squat because they want the most muscle possible and the most explosive ability for the clean. But for general physique exercises, big to small. Another exception is injury prevention. Maybe some empty can, full can for the shoulders, or bird dogs. These can be integrated into the warm-up and at the beginning of the workout. They can also be integrated during the workout. This is a good way when you have people that maybe they prefer lifting heavy weights to kind of trick them into doing preventative exercises, injury preventative exercises, injury prevention exercises, whatever. This way they can just be done during rest from bigger exercises, like during the rest in between squat sets, and you're not really affecting squats or anything else. So it's important to have a good idea of how to lay out these exercises. One exception we'll talk about is more advanced bodybuilding, where you might want squats later in the workout after your legs are already exhausted, thus pushing them to a different level. Or when doing a pre-exhaust type exercise, like when you would do a machine fly, then get on a bench press. Or when you're trying to activate certain muscles using other exercises before big exercises. These are great, but these are generally reserved for people that have a few years of training experience. Most people do not need anything fancy, and that's important to realize, that simple workouts are the most effective. Yes, you have to keep people entertained, but it's important to relay that information to your client as well. It might be boring, but it's going to be effective. You're going to achieve your goals. And in the end, that's what we're trying to do. A final note is on supersets. Supersets can be done a few different ways. One, as mentioned before, is used to pre-exhaust a muscle. 2 is to, like something like biceps and triceps, use an agonist and antagonist. And it's important to consider if someone's doing the first exercise in a superset, how will they be fatigue-wise for the second exercise? So is it a good idea to do a back squat or maybe a back raise followed by a back squat? Probably not, because their lower back's going to be exhausted by the time they get to a back squat. Same thing for a tricep push down followed by bench press. Unless you really want to wear their triceps out, that's probably not the best idea. But a bench press followed by a bent over row, or an incline bench press followed by a pull-up. These don't overlap too much, yet work opposite skeletal muscles, for a very simple term. Therefore, you can add a lot of work by adding supersets into a workout. I use this very frequently because instead of going through 3 sets of incline bench press with 2 minutes rest in between, you can do an incline bench press followed by a set of pull-ups with 1 minute rest and then get back to incline bench press, and you've actually rested about 2 minutes for the muscles involved in incline bench press. Thus, you're achieving more volume in a shorter amount of time. So it's important to think about how these things are laid out and what effect this will have on the body. Think logically, and it's pretty easy.